Nation. Join us live tonight for three amazing shows with three amazing hosts. In our first hour, join us for Power Over Tomorrow with our resident financial advisor, Tyrone T.S. Mitchell. In our second hour, join us for the Political Corner with host Kevin Hezekiah. And finally, in our third hour, join us for The Pendulum with Dr. Samori Swagger. Source Nation, here are your hosts, Tyrone T.S. Mitchell, Kevin Hezekiah, and Dr. Samori Swagger.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Power Over Tomorrow. I'm your host and resident financial advisor, Tyrone T.S. Mitchell. This program is being brought to you by T.S. Mitchell Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisory firm specializing in helping you reach your goals. The firm also provides educational information. And that information is not meant for the sale or the solicitation of any particular stock or investment, because we want to remind you, as always, stocks and investments do have risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. So continue to hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. Continue to call in at 619-924-0933. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm only human. Yes, indeed. But you know what we also have? We have sponsors that help keep us on course and also help make this show program possible. And that's why we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Zulema Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper to Film Productions, Revolution Mills, Renovations, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend 2, Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. Yes. Sometimes when you get a mouthful, you need to take smaller bites. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just elated. I am. I'm elated about the topic that we have to address. And the topic we're having to address is called stress. Yes, sometimes when stress comes your way, sometimes when you have to deal with something, stress will either make you bitter or better. It will either make you victorious or a victim. It all depends on how you take it and what you do with it. Yeah, so what? I trip, I stumble, and I will fall. But I will still get up. And I will keep getting up. So just because I may make a mistake every now and then, there's nothing wrong with making a mistake as long as you learn something from it. But if you keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over, then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes your destiny. So what we want to do here on Power Over Tomorrow, we understand we all make mistakes, especially with money, especially. And when we make those mistakes, we have to learn from them. And if you see someone make a mistake on something, don't go up there and make the same mistake, because anyone can make the same mistake someone else does, but it takes a wise man to learn from the mistakes of others. So if someone crosses the bridge and the bridge is not there and they fall into the ravine, it's not a question of whether or not they learn from their experience. It's what did you learn in watching it? And when we're dealing with financial matters, there are folks who made decisions that we've watched and said, that don't seem right. Or we've watched and said, wow, I wonder how did they do that? Well, what we have is an opportunity on this program to talk about debt, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It all depends on how we handle it. But the first thing that we're going to handle is we're going to handle a little business. Source Nation, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about debt. Source Nation, we'll be right back.
Source Nation, stay tuned. You're listening live to Power Over Tomorrow with our resident financial advisor, Tyrone Mitchell.
Source Radio Network is just one of the many platforms that is used to fulfill dreams of our listeners. and create a purpose that will impact the lives of our communities, cities, and the world. It is often said that great things will happen when a group of driven people work together to accomplish one goal. We're giving people the opportunity to have a voice, translate words that haven't been heard, and paint pictures that no one has seen. Source Radio Network is fueling your life's purpose. How can you listen? www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio.
With me is T.S. Mitchell, the independent and trusted financial advisor. T.S., how long have you been doing this?
I started my practice in 1984 when I was 19. I saw something happening and I wanted to make a difference.
You've helped a lot of families over the years. How do you do it?
Well, the first thing I try to do is build a relationship. I find out where you are, what are your goals, and where do you plan to be. From there, we try to design a plan that will help you reach your goals efficiently and economically too.
Do you need to have a lot of income to work with T.S. Mitchell Financial?
Well, if you can save $1.50 a day, then we can talk.
Appointments are available at 1201 Hampton Street, downtown Columbia. Online at tsmitchell.com and 803-744-3417. That's 803-744-3417.
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to Power Over Tomorrow with our resident financial advisor, Tyrone Mitchell.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Power Over Tomorrow. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we want to talk a little bit about something. We want to talk a little bit about debt. And why is that so important? Well, the key is this, is that there are many things that can cause debt. I think last week or the last show we did talk about not being our own worst enemy. You know, and understanding that sometimes we can cause situations to come heavily on ourselves. We need to find ways to minimize, and I truly mean this, minimize the stress that we cause. Earlier today, as a matter of fact, for the past few weeks, I've been teaching at one of the middle schools here in South Carolina, and we've been, and hello to, hey, Blythewood Chargers. Oops, I'm sorry, said it. Well, I've been teaching at the middle school, and we've been talking about economics, and working with the group of students. They are my eighth graders, and young minds, young beautiful minds, and we're talking about things regarding money. And let me share this with you: your children can teach you a little bit about money. Don't think they don't know. Oh, yes, they do. They know. And many times they know about money by watching how we handle money. I'm sure, and my children are listening in the background. They're not saying much of anything. Well, you know, while Dad is on the show, but they listen, and I see how they converse with their friends. They say, well, you know, I'm not going to go buy those sneakers. I may look at the stock. And I said, huh? And where you learned that from? And then I realized they were listening to one of our shows. But our children listen. They listen. They may not be in a position to make the financial transaction, but they are listening and they are watching. Those are the key things. They're listening, they're watching, and eventually they learn. And when they learn better, they do better. That's why it's so important that we continue to have these type of venues, to have these type of opportunities to discuss things that will affect our lives from this point all the way through to the very end. It's about managing. It's about understanding. It's about, we always say what? The threefold: the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding. Knowledge is what? You remember now, knowledge is knowing what? Knowledge is knowing how to do it. Understanding is knowing why you're doing it. and wisdom is knowing what to do. All right, so remember that. Let's go in reverse. Wisdom is knowing what to do. Understanding is knowing why you're doing it. And knowledge is knowing how to do it. So when we apply those things when it comes to finances, we can make what we truly believe a more educated decision concerning our family, our future, and even our finances. So when I was been working with the students, and we're talking about things such as today's lesson, we've been talking about credit cards. As a matter of fact, credit cards, or better yet, the credit score. That's what and in understanding the credit scores, we talked about things such as credit cards and decisions that we have to make. And we went around the class and we talked about it, and you'll be amazed at some of the things that they know. And I was like, wow, our children have a bright future ahead of them. We just have to make sure we continue to fund that future for them in the right way. Now, some of the things that we talked about what happens when people make financial decisions. Those financial decisions can lead to a level of debt. And since we were speaking about the credit scores or the FICO scores, when debt comes, I had to relate it to them. I said, it is like your grades in school. Think about it. When you're in school and you have A grades, you basically, as a child, if you remember the days when you were much younger, that when you came home and you had an A on your report card, and not just one, but if you had a series of A's or all A's, it always seemed as if you got an extra ice cream for dessert, an extra time to watch TV, some extra time to play, some extra money, in your allowance. When you always had the good grades, it always seems as if it brought extra benefits with it. Now, when you had some B's, yeah, you still got some benefits, but you was always reminded, well, yeah, that's good, but there's still room for improvement. Can you do a little bit better? But when you came home with some C's, all right, you got that look. All right, now, you're close to that borderline. Though, be careful now. You can move away. Make sure you work a little bit harder, get away from that borderline. All right, so you may not get as much as the others, but you still got something for passing. But you may not have gotten as much as those who got B's and A's, but you still got something. Now, think about this. What happened when you came home with a D? I had one student say, She said, I'll be 6 feet under. And I looked at that child today, and she said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, do I need to mention an F? And then there's the crowd, not the crowd, but the classroom they just went in the uproar. Oh, don't come home with an F. Don't come home. Think about it. Our financial scores help determine a lot of things as far as what we will have as far as benefits, what we will have opportunities to do. And the financial score can also bring something that is called stress upon us too. The financial score is how we basically not just handle finances, but how we handle debt. We will, from time to time, overextend ourselves. Hey, that's typically what we live in a society that promotes spending more than saving. Oh, yes, we get commercials here and there and, talking about, save a little money here, save a little money there. But when you think of the majority of the money that's being spent, it's being spent to get you to spend money. As we always say, spend the money you don't have to buy the things you don't need to impress folks you don't like. We have to get that under control. And as you go through this thing called life, you're going to have those ups, you're going to have those downs. You will have those times where, as Paul says, I learned to be abound and I learned to abase. meaning that I learned to live with a lot and I learned to live with a little. We have to do better. And and I'm not just preaching to the choir, no, because sometimes when we teach, we also learn. So when we take the time to study and try to prepare our children, it's also a time for us to learn. When I take the time to study, to work in this industry, and prepare an opportunity or prepare for the show, yes, I am learning. Yes, I am. I get tempted too. And let me tell you something. Sometimes it's even harder for me because, you know why? Because to whom much is given, much is required. Okay? Sometimes it's harder because I said, well, you know what? I know how to maneuver this. Have you ever, I know especially in the wintertime, have you ever driven a car in the snow and then you hit a patch of ice? Sometimes the snow just moves and you hit that patch of ice. While you're driving in the snow, you say, oh, I got this, and then you hit that patch of ice and that car starts to shimmy and fishtail a little bit. Boy, you work hard to get it back under control. Now, I'll tell you now, yes, that does happen. I wouldn't be human if I didn't experience some things like that. But here's the difference. Once you know better, what are you going to do? You get yourself back on course. You learn how to deal with the levels of debt. You learn how to deal with the levels of stress. And if you are living today and you don't have any debt or you don't have any stress, well, then all I'm going to just say is just keep living. Trust me, just keep living. When it comes to stress, someone once said, it may have been me, that either you are in something now or you just got out of something or you are headed for something. But something is coming your way. So what are you going to do when it gets there? When we think about the average American household and the debt that it owes, it says that the average American household owes about $132,000. And, that's including the purchase and the ownership of the homes and the cars, right? That's how much they owe in debt. And the credit card debt accounts, over close to $16,000 of that $132,000. So what I'm saying is that there is little wonder. That money worries are a major cause of stress. That the debt is a major cause of stress. We live at a time where we begin so tight and so wound up, especially after the holiday season when folks have spent that money. Now it's time to realize, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle it? How are we going to pay this? We don't want to spend a whole year paying off something that we bought in 1 month, but many of us do. So there has been links. Hear me. There has been links between stress and our health. It says humans have an innate response called fight or flight. Fight or flight. What it means is that it's nature's way of us launching our bodies into action. It's nature's way of getting us to respond to the situation at hand. Physical responses that we feel during moments of stress. You know what happens? Your heart rate beats faster. All right? Yeah, okay? Your breathing elevates. You get a tightening of muscles. And sometimes you even increase in sweat. Yeah, just think about it. Now, why is it that when, at the beginning of the month, when those bills start coming in, the last thing that you want to do is open up those envelopes? Because you already start beginning to know, and maybe you've already experienced it in the past. Maybe you watched your parents go through it or somebody else you know about the stress that comes when those bills come. Oh, man, that mortgage is due again, and you feel your heart rate just boom, 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 just starting to pound. And then here we coming upon tax season. Folks sit up all night trying to do taxes, or they send their taxes to me and expect me to sit up all night. Well, I got a plan for you, okay? But we still get them done. But we have to learn how to control the stress levels. And so stress, especially financial stress, brings issues on our physical ability. That's why, if you really begin to think about it, those who are destitute, those who are of lower income, typically have higher issues regarding. We understand that they can't afford to go to the hospital or go to the doctor, especially if they don't have health insurance. That was the purpose of putting the Affordable Care Act together, to help prevent those type of preventable issues to be manifesting themselves into something greater. Well, those who are lower income, not only does the stress of not having enough money to provide for your family, or not having enough money to really go out or for a night out, or go out on a date with your spouse, or send your children on a school trip, or even participate. Many of the schools now have, if you want your child to participate in sports or play an instrument, costs just to be able to do those things. I remember the days when I was growing up, while on Long Island we had a higher property taxes, but we now, as adults, we see that those higher property taxes went toward a lot of things for the schools that my parents did not have to pay for. But now, in certain parts of the country, and particularly even in the South, that everything at school is an added cost. And what does that end up doing? It ends up developing a system of haves and have-nots. There are some students that will be great musicians, great public speakers, great athletes, but because of the financial cost for their child to participate in those programs, especially when they start winning at a certain level, and now they start going to state competition and regional competition and national competition, it costs money that many families do not have. And as a parent, it causes a lot of stress, because now we're trying to figure out, how do we deal with this? How do we handle this? So we have to begin to understand that debt and stress will come our way, but we have to find ways to handle it. Our bodies tell us to either run away from it or fight through it. Now, when we take the first part, if we run away from it, it's still going to be there when we come back. It's just as if you were an ostrich and you buried your head in the sand. I often say, be careful of that picture, because when you take the ostrich approach to handling your finances and you bury your head in the sand, you leave your rear end exposed. You got that? When you bury your head in the sand, and I'm saying rear end because I don't want to say the other word, all right? You leave your rear end exposed. So you don't want to leave yourself exposed like that and not knowing what's coming up behind you. When we are dealing with stress, when we are dealing with debt, it is an issue, a major issue, that we learn how to manage these things. If these things will come, but if we learn how to manage it, then we'll be able to weather the storm just a little bit better. It's like at the beginning of the program, I stumble over some things, but how do you manage it? Do you get upset and say, turn off the radio program and let's erase everything and start off? No. You just keep on going through it. When we're at church and somebody's leading songs and they get up there, and this is a pet peeve. I'm not trying to get too far off, but this is just talking about managing things. And someone's leading songs and they miss a note and they mess up, and then they're going to ask the audience, have y'all ever had this? Then they're going to ask the folks in the church, just bear with me. I'm going to try this and start. First of all, you didn't have to say all that. Just sing through it. It's like, and another thing that gets me sometimes is that when people are speaking, public speaking, and they trip over a word, they stumble, and they let their body language just show to the whole world that they made a mistake. So sometimes what you do is that you just learn to move through it. Move through it. All right? So when those bills come, you stop complaining. And I'm going to tell you what my wife told me one time. Just be thankful we got the money to pay it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Sometimes we need a voice of reason. What are we going to do now? How are we going to manage it? And then I look where we are and we pay it. And we manage that properly. Now, some folks may say, well, what happens when you don't have the money to pay it? Now we're talking. What happens when you don't have the money to pay it? Well, let's discuss just for a moment. How did you get into that situation? Did you have the money and choose not to pay it? Or did you get involved with something hoping that you will find a way to pay it? There's a big difference. Because if you had the money and you knew you could afford to pay it, it wouldn't have been a problem. But many times that when we get into a level of debt, a debt of our own choosing, all right, let's get that, a debt of our choosing, it either comes because we got involved with something and hoping to be able to pay it. In other words, we counted our chickens before our eggs were hatched. When tax season comes around and somebody walks up to you and say, yeah, you ain't got your tax refund yet, but come on, sign up for this new car loan. We giving tax, we got a tax sale. And then so you go sign up for that car. You done your tax return and you think you're going to get your, you're going to get this type of tax refund, and you go up and you sign for that car, or you go up and you get that, you go ahead and get that agreement for that rent of furniture. That's another show, all right? That rent of furniture, that all that stuff, okay? And because, well, by the time the bill comes, I should have my tax refund. Does that sound familiar? So what did you just do? You just put yourself in debt, hoping that the money will come in on time. Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have it happened to where you file your tax return and you waiting and then your money's not there? And then you wait and you're calling the people who done your taxes, or you go into the IRS, type in irs.gov, and then you go to the section, where's my refund? Yeah, how many of you done that? You type in, where's my refund, and you put in the information that you need, and it tells you pending. Then finally you get something in the mail. The IRS says, we found an inconsistency, a discrepancy. Your refund is not coming for another 6 weeks. It's under further investigation. Or it may be that you forgot that you had a student loan payment that had now gone into default, or that you may have owed some back taxes, or that you may have owed some money from unemployment insurance. All right? However the case may be, or you may have owed some money when you was once receiving welfare benefits. If if I step on your toes, just hit me up at 619-924-0933. Press option 1 and just say ouch. All right? But I'm shooting for your heart. Now, see, all those things that I've just mentioned is part of the financial system of the American government. And when your Social Security number is attached to any part of that, the system now all aggregated to the IRS system. They won't tell you that, but at any given time, something is amiss, and you are owed a tax refund. Those things take precedence over that car that you extended yourself for, over that furniture that you extended yourself for. Because when that tax refund, you were expecting $5,000 to come back or any amount, and you get not $5,000, but a note saying that you owe another $1,500. So now what happened? You extended yourself. You counted your eggs before they were hatched, and now you're stressed out because of this debt. Your heart is racing. You're feeling you got headaches. You can't sleep at night because now that you put yourself in another situation, that when it comes to financial matters, you didn't take the right approach. Think about it. Think before. My father used to tell me when I was much younger, he would always tell me, look before you leap. Think before. Don't let your mouth write a check your behind can't cash. In other words, before you go into action, think about your end game. Think about where it's going to lead you. So if you see situations that can cause you to go into debt, knowing that the debt will cause a higher level of stress, knowing that the stress will cause issues regarding your health, why not avoid it? Why not avoid it? So sometimes it is better. It's not all the time it is better to just wait it out. That car will be there. If the furniture you've been using has been good before you did your tax returns, why can't the furniture be good after you get your tax returns and save up the money? Because we will talk about this during the year, Lord willing, about the aspects of payday lenders, title loans. What other things we got? What's out there? Rent the furniture, okay? These things are in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and they carry a high degree of interest, more so than the loan sharks. They are modern-day loan sharks, and you know who they are backed by? They are backed by the same financial institutions that said they can't put a bank in your community. That's right. Many of the payday lenders and title loans are backed by commercial banks. The same commercial banks that say, folks in that area are not good qualified people to open up savings accounts and checking accounts. And those are some of the things that I talked with the students about today, is that when decisions have to be made regarding how to handle debt, it is important that they understand causes your credit score to go up or to go down, depending upon how you manage it. We would do it. We would ask questions such as, we had these little cards, and matter of fact, I'll just read a couple of them to you. I had the cards, and I told the children to pick a card. Don't turn it over. Don't look at it. And we went around the room, so everyone got a chance to read what was on their card. And one child read. He says, "Your mortgage loan has been open, active, and paid on time each month for 2 years." So that person says, and it says, add 8 points. This was part of the game. So now they got, that was a positive. The mortgage payments, how they managed their mortgage, how they paid it on time every month and active for 2 years. It added a positive onto their credit score. And that was a good thing. Now, then another student read, "You forgot to pay your car payment in 1 month. Subtract 8 points." Whoa, now the kids will say, "Wait a minute." I said, yeah. When you forget, it's like when you're in school and you forget to do an assignment, you get a 0. And that 0 pulls down the weighted average of your grade. The same when we miss car note payments, when we miss credit card payments, when we miss the payment, the assigned payment that was for that month, we jeopardize our credit, and it goes down. One student read, "You open up a savings account, you open up a checking account." They add, and it says add 15 points to your score. Now, this was just the assignment that we was going through. And so the kids were getting to understand when you do positive things, when you manage your debt properly. And let me share with you, as I was watching them read the cards, their countenance, their disposition would change depending upon if it was adding or subtracting, just by playing a mere game of understanding economics, of debt. I can watch their faces, and so when a student read that they check their credit score on a regular basis, they got 3 points. Yeah, they set up proudly. And then another student read that, and before they said anything, I can tell it was negative. I said, "Go ahead, what's going on?" And their shoulders slouch down, and they put their head in their hand and says, "Student loan default, interest grows as the loan goes up, subtract 15 points." And then they said, "It always happens to me." Now, what just happened? That student was reacting in a physical way to debt. Although it was a game, it was illustrating how serious and how important it is for us to understand how to manage stress and debt. But in the long haul, what we did was, and for everyone, when we left the class on a positive note, we were keeping a track of the positives and the negatives. And in all the classes that I taught, we did have more positive, or the point value on the positive side outweighed the point value on the negative side. Now, and I said this, I said, well, that's the way life is. Life is we're going to have ups, we're going to have downs. We're going to have those ins and outs. We're going to have times of positive and times of negative. But what we have to understand is, how do we manage it and how do we make it through? Well, the way we have to do that is that we have to realize this. When you're dealing with debt, we have to control our spending. Be our own worst enemy. But be the type of person that recognizes for every action there's a what? Reaction. For every opportunity that there is to spend money, there's an opportunity to save money. So what are you going to do with it? You know, we must keep things in perspective. We really do. You know, if you are experiencing debt-related stress, you should consider attacking the root of the problem. If you're experiencing, let me say this again. If you are experiencing debt-related stress, then you should. Let me cross it out. You must consider attacking the root of the problem. It takes time to work down debt, but it doesn't mean that you can't manage the stress during that period of time. It takes time to work that debt down, but you can manage the stress. Don't cause yourself higher levels of stress because you got debt. Hey, listen, I remember this. I remember about a month before my wedding date. My father said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Dad," I said, "I love her, but how am I going to afford a wife and then one day when we're going to have children?" My father looked at me and said, "Son, you'll do it." He said, "You always going to owe somebody." You know, that's what he said. You're always going to owe somebody. And still to this day, he is absolutely right. I still owe somebody. Right? You know, but you know what? But that's how it goes. And even if all of my financial worries are over, if all of your financial worries are over and money was not an issue, we would still have a debt. Yeah, we still would. Because there was somebody that paid a debt that he did not owe, because we had a debt that we could not pay. And that debt was the debt of sin. And you know what sin is, ladies and gentlemen? Sin is when you know what is right, but then you do what is wrong. Sin is the one thing that separates, as it's reported in the book of Isaiah, sin is what separates your God from you. that causes him to hide his face from you. Because remember, God's hands are not shortened that he cannot save. His ears are not heavy that he cannot hear. But it says your iniquities, your sins, has hidden his face. So when we want the blessings from God, when we want the glory from of God to shine upon us, when we, as we say at the end of the program, want his what? Him to hold us in the hollow of his hands and the rain to fall upon us so gently. You know, in the book of Matthew, it talks about when the rains come and the floods ascend and the rain descends and the wind blows. Sometimes rain that falls on us is the things in life that we cannot control. When those things fall upon us, we want them to fall on us gently. So when debt comes on us, we want it to fall upon us gently. It becomes heavy laden and burdensome when we don't know how to handle it. So how do we handle it? Once again, when it comes, manage your stress. Manage the way you think. And yes, we know that Napoleon Hill, the author, back in 1920, I think it was 1924, 26, wrote about Think and Grow Rich. And then he also said, if you can conceive it, believe it, you can achieve it. Napoleon Hill did something in the introduction, in the foreword of his book. He accredited his thought process or his foundation of his book on biblical teaching. And it's amazing how everyone after Napoleon Hill, all the way up to now, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, all of those guys, all those public speakers, motivational speakers, they talk about Napoleon Hill. Well, Napoleon Hill was a man, a human being just like you and me, breath and breeches, returning back to the dust he came from. I'd rather go all the way back to the scriptures and see what the Bible says about stewardship, about debt, understanding, owe no man. All right? Pay. Manage those things properly. When we are good stewards of what we've been blessed with, we can begin to manage those things. Someone once said that, don't go out, trying to sow your wild oats and then hope for a crop failure. All right? What you sow is what you reap. So here we are. We have to understand the stress because now, take this into consideration. When it comes to your financial matters, is that scriptures say what? For the love of money, not money itself, because we use money, but for the love of money is the root of all evil. And it has caused many to pierce themselves in pain and fall away from the faith. So when we love money and use people, we cause ourselves a lot of problems. But when we love people and use money to help facilitate the goodness of man and for ourselves, then things work itself out. That's what debt does not tell you. See, debt tells you that I owe it to myself, I deserve it, so therefore I'm going to get mine. All right. You may get more than just yours. You may get some things that you may not have been prepared for. And that is a level of stress that causes you to have health problems. Yes. So when we develop a strategy to eliminate the debt, the first step that we must recognize is that we must lower our stress. Lower our stress because the sense of control that the strategy gives us, it gives you hope and optimism. We want that hope and optimism we have to be optimistic for the future. All is not doom and gloom. All is not, death and dismay. But when we develop a proper strategy, when we control our stress level, when we manage our spending and put our spending in the right perspective, we can the hold that debt has on us. You know, it's important that we keep debt worries in perspective. Remind yourself that debt may not permanently ruin your life. You know, sometimes folks need to write it down. It's a helpful outlet. All right? It helps you go through the cycle of that thought process. You know, seek social support. Continue listening to the program, because we are here to encourage you that you do not have to go through this alone. You know, knowing that family and friends are in your corner, knowing that Power Over Tomorrow Source Radio is in your corner can give you a great source of strength. That's why we're here. And finally, I say this. Find time for laughter. Find time. Something has to be funny. All right? Something has to be funny. Whether it's my corny jokes or whether it's something someone said to you, find time for laughter and extend some small kindness to others, because each of them will unleash a wonderfully positive chemical reaction. That's right. Listen, there's a chemical reaction when you laugh. You know, that's good for the soul. That's good for the body. That's good for your mind and your optimism. Manage that debt by managing that stress. Enjoy your life, but enjoy it responsibly as good stewards of the things that God has blessed you with. Source Nation, our time has come to its allotted end, and I'm managing my time now, all right? But look here. I still want you to sign up on our website at tsmitchell.com. We're doing some upgrades to it. I'm looking at it right now. It's bad. Ooh, it is bad. And not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good when you look at it. And we organize. We have some things organized that makes it simple for you to find what you are looking for. When you go there, I want you to read about the 3 M's. I want you to go under Envision. I want you to see what is client-centered. I want you to go to the Education Center. I want you to sign up for the financial newsletters that keep you well informed. Keep you well informed. Because we have a journey ahead of us, but we're going to take that journey one step at a time together. And in our walk of life, may the road rise up to meet us. May the wind forever be at our back. May the sun shine upon us with his warmth, and may the rain fall upon us ever so gently. Until the next time when we can cross each other's path, may the God of heaven hold us in the hollow of his hand. Source Nation, I am Tyrone T.S. Mitchell. This has been Power Over Tomorrow. Be well, be blessed, and be your best.
Get at me for beats, y'all.